Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another short little unboxing video to share with you guys. We've got some new stuff from Chaves Knives, which is cool because I haven't looked at anything really new from Chaves for at least a few months. This came in directly from Chaves Knives, so thank you very much. I'll link Chaves Knives and actually a bunch of different retailers that carry their stuff down in the description. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks so much to my patrons for supporting me, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. All right, so I'm going to be honest with you guys. I've already looked at this stuff. Usually I unbox this stuff blind, but I've already looked at it, and it was because this came in like on a Friday, and I really wanted to show it off on the live stream that evening. But I still like to do unboxings and just kind of showcase the items before I do the comprehensive review. So this guy's actually not a knife. These two are knives, but this guy's a pen, which I thought was pretty cool. I do, I, oddly enough, like pens, and I know that that's actually fairly common for knife guys to kind of transition or have kind of a side interest in pens and watches and things like that. But I do like the little sort of perforations that kind of, I guess, kind of create the grip. Not really. I think that's more just like fun texturing. And this is a simple sort of click on, click off, and it has that, what's the right word here? The instantly recognizable Chaves clip that's almost like a duck skull, right? But yeah, pretty cool. A lot more robust than something like the one that I got from Oz Machine Company here lately. I think probably more along the same size as like what Tactile does with their full-size pens. Not quite as big as the pen that I got from Midgard's Messer, but really cool and titanium and nice and clicky and fun. Just a really cool pen. I honestly don't know what these go for, but I'll have them linked down in the description. You guys can check them out. This will probably end up being something that I do a giveaway on, so be watching out for that one there. But let's get into the knives here and see. And I can't remember how I put these back. Yeah, you know what? Let's just do this one first. So this is the first all black Chaves that I have actually handled. I own 3 Chaves 229 models. One is a thumb stud opener, and then I have 2 of these kickstop models, which I have to be honest with you guys, I prefer these kickstop models because I love the kickstop flipper. And if you don't know, this is a flipper that's actually independent of the blade, and so when you flip it, it folds back down and away, which is really cool. It's actually over here. I was looking for it over there. But it stays in place until it is met by the blade, and then it kicks it back out. But this allows for the blade to flip and for there to be nothing in the choke-up position or nothing right here, sort of, you know, create, in some situations, flippers create awkward ergonomics or uncomfortable ergonomics. And not only is it fun and interesting, but it actually, I think, benefits the knife ergonomically. This is a really cool combination here. We have the compound Tanto, which is definitely going to be, well, no, it's about the same as the compound drop point, right? They're both going to be a lot thinner behind the edge than you would expect a knife of this thickness to be. I believe these are 150, 155 thousandths. M390 still made by Riot to my knowledge. I love this inlay, and I'll tell you why. Because it blocks off most of the frame lock from being something that you could accidentally put too much pressure on while you're flipping it. That's always been a huge thing to me. And same thing with use. When you're squeezing, you're not really putting a lot of pressure on the lock bar itself. You're putting it on the scale, which means you're not forcing that lock bar over and creating unnecessary wear between the lock bar and the tang of the blade, right? Which, if you're using a knife the way that you're supposed to be using it, is fine. A lot of people say, oh, well, that's how you hold the lock in place. If what you're doing is causing the lock to slide back out of place on a knife like this made by Riot, it's probably not a knife task, right? But this is really cool. I would love to see this. This is kind of like a brown, just sort of a, you know, a vintage micarta, and it's cool. I would love to see a carbon fiber inlay. Oh, a silver twill inlay would be wonderful. I'd love to see other things, right? You could do your magma carbon fibers, your various fat carbons that are different colors. I'd like to see different colors of micarta, right? I think that would be really cool. You could even inlay titanium and anodize it a different color and add some texturing here. I love this, and I really hope they expand on it. These are expensive knives. These are not going to be cheap knives. They have grown steadily in price over time, but I'm a big fan of the 229 profile. Now, this other one here is really interesting, and it's a frame lock, and it's also a kickstop flipper, but I forgot that they had told me they were sending me this. So when I looked here and I was like, oh my gosh, look how wildly off-center it is. What happened here? And then I thought, wait a second. Why is there only a swedge on one side? And then I remembered, that's right. It's chisel ground. And it's funny that, you know, I haven't seen any chisel ground knives be really, really popular for a while. I'm not saying this is. I'm just saying it used to be something. People on my live stream reminded me that that used to be something we saw in Emerson knives a long time ago, and you hardly ever see it at all in the production knife world now in 2024. The idea here is, instead of a conventional V grind, we come to a much thinner, because it's just flat right here. It doesn't have to taper. It's just completely flat. We come to a much thinner edge. This compound edge is thin, but this chisel ground edge is ridiculously thin. So what you end up with is a knife that still is very, very robust, but ends up being wildly more slight. I mean, there's still knives that are substantially thinner behind the edge, but a wildly thinner edge in comparison, right? So interesting. Now, a lot of people, the issue that they have with the chisel ground knives, and it's myself included, I like a conventional V-grind because I like things to look the same on both sides. This is an issue that people have with frame lock knives in general, especially when we do a knife that has texturing or some sort of inlay on one side, and then the frame lock side is completely different. Hinderer knives, I think, is a good example of this. So this lack of symmetry is, I think, what bothers people, despite there being, in some cases, utilitarian advantages to a chisel ground knife. So, yeah, and I think it's also a little bit more tricky to sharpen, because you can see there the actual bevel, the cutting bevel on this side is much thinner than on this side. So you have to adjust a little bit. And I think over time, what ends up happening is you end up adding more of a bevel on this side as time goes forward. Well, actually, you know what? You guys tell me that, because I'm actually guessing there. Do you even sharpen this side? Like, is that how you do it, or you just, on a chisel ground knife, do you just sharpen one side? I have never owned. Well, this is the only chisel ground knife that I've got here, and I think it's one of the only chisel ground knives that I've ever shown on the channel. And I've never EDC'd one or sharpened one or maintained one for a long period of time. So this is a learning experience for me, and I guess a learning experience for anybody else in the comments wondering the same thing. Do you just continuously sharpen one side of a chisel ground knife? I don't know why I'm having trouble saying that. Chisel ground. But it is interesting, but I can't deny that it's like bothersome to see it look off-center. It actually is perfect. If you look up here, this thick part of the knife is perfectly centered. It's just that's where the grind ends up, right? So I want to see if I can feel a difference slicing a piece of paper with these two knives. Let's try with the chisel ground. Yeah, that is. There is. That has less drag. They're both super sharp, but that's noticeably different. Even on something like paper, which doesn't really prove anything. Okay, interesting. I believe there are quite a few retailers carrying at least this version of it right now. So I'll have the Chaves Knives website linked down in the description, but also a few different retailers where you can pick these up. And I know that I should have brought this up right away. I know there's already a ton of people who just do that sort of knee-jerk thing, and they just immediately start complaining about the skull clip. They come with two clips now. So you're not forced to, actually this one will match with this one. You're not forced to go with the skull clip if you don't want to, right? So but all of them, this one too, they all have those just plain Jane clips that come with them now, which is pretty cool. So there you go. That's going to be it today, guys. Does the pen? Probably not. The pen you have to you have to have a skull clip. That's going to be it today, guys, for today's unboxing. I will probably do a review on the chisel ground version of this knife because it is just a little bit different. But this one I've already done the review on. So anyways, that's going to be it for today. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like. So check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.